So it's a Linux video, and this video is about how to deploy that Linux for your family and friends. Hello everybody, it's True Detective here, and in this video the topic is Linux and how to deploy that Linux for your family and friends. First of all, know your Linux shit. Know how to update the system, know how to install software, know how to fix problems on Linux. The first thing that we have to get under our belt to deploy that Linux for the family, just get to know Linux firsthand for yourself. Don't try to make others use it until you are very much at home with it. And friends, is to know your shit. So that's the part number one, or step number one. Step one. Next, just choose a distro and preferably make this distro the distro that you use yourself. For me, it's Debian. For you, it might be Ubuntu, maybe Fedora. So get to know Linux first for yourself. Don't try to deploy it for anybody else before you understand it for yourself. That's the step number one. Step number two is choose a distro. And what I recommend for you to do is that you settle on one distro that you use for all your friends and all your family members too. And use the same distro for all the family and friends' computers. It will make it so much easier to maintain, and if problems arise, you will be on top of that before they're going to suffer that. My own choice for this is Debian. Why? Because of the update cycle. Take into consideration that if you deploy for your family and friends Linux, and you for example have 5 computers, and you get updates, major updates every 6 months like with Fedora, it's not going to be very fun to always show up to make those updates. In terms of desktop environments, don't just push your family members to use i3, the tiling window manager for your mother type of shit. No, just try to find one that goes well with how they use the computer. And try to figure out if they have specific software needs so that Linux wouldn't be the right option. Then don't go for it. But if the use case is mainly web browsing stuff and this sort of game, why not go for Linux? Choose a distro that you are very comfortable with yourself. For me it's Debian, I use it myself, so why not use it on the family computers too? Then you should teach them, your family and friends, the Linux user experience, because it's not that different to use a Linux computer. It's actually easier, it's actually better, and you will notice that if you have been previously supporting and being the IT support guy of your family and friends with Windows computers, for example, and Android devices and iOS bullshit and this sort of game, it's going to be easier and more hassle-free to do the Linux. The next step is to understand the use case. So understand the use case for the computer. So you should understand what you do with your computer. If you do with your computer on web browsing stuff and that sort of game, Linux is perfect. But in some situations Linux might not be perfect. So in that situation you wouldn't go for Linux. But if the use case is great for Linux, then why not go for it? You're gonna have them less coming to you and say that there's a problem. Because with Linux, if you get it working, usually it just fucking works. And for example, here we might have old laptops. For all of these we go with the same distro. Why? Because if you're yourself running Arch Linux and all the family computers, friends computers have, for example, Ubuntu, you're not going to be on top of what is going on at Ubuntu. Old laptops, desktops, this sort of stuff, if you have less resources on the machine, think about the desktop environment. Go with LXD or something lightweight, Mate, maybe Cinnamon, that sort of stuff. And with the more powerful computers, KDE Plasma and also and GNOME is the right option for that. that's why I recommend that you really think about the distro that you're gonna deploy on these machines with thoughtfulness. I think Debian is great. That's how I would do it, and that's how I've been doing it. What's so great about Debian is that you can choose the desktop environment in the installation phase of it. So if you have an old laptop, for example, that can't run GNOME, you could go with LXD or KDE or something like that. And also one of the extra steps that you can take if you are having your friend as somebody that has some tech savvy in him too, maybe teach the friend how to install Linux. So maybe he can take it one step further and install the Linux on his friend's computers then. Maybe he can become like you in terms of that Linux evangelism. Yeah. And after this you teach them the user experience. Teach them the user experience of Linux, install all the possible software that they will need, and teach them how to update the machine. And I think that would be a great plan to deploy that Linux on your friends and family's computers. And then if problems arise, support that shit. That's how I do it. And it works. And it works much better than with Windows.